Hey everybody, it's Bob from ILikeToMakeStuff. Thanks for checking out this episode of BrainPick. I'm here with Kyle Toth, and really glad to have Kyle. Kyle, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, man.
Oh yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, right on. Well, as we wait for some questions to pile up, it takes a little while for them to show up in the bar over here. I want to go ahead and ask you some stuff to get it started. Um, so I watched this video that this company did about you today, and it was awesome. And I tweeted it out earlier, so if anybody's watching and they haven't seen that video, you need to go check that out for sure. But it was talking about how you've been doing this like since you were a kid, and then I've heard David Picciuto say that you've never had another job other than woodworking. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, kind of. Last year, I did have an apprenticeship at a shop in like downtown San Diego for like 7 months, and that was like an paid apprenticeship. But other than that, I've kind of just always made things and sold things, to get by, and just got more into it like that. So I guess it's kind of a true statement. David told me, he's like, "You've never had a real job," and I'm like, come on, man."
Well, that's cool. But so you've been making stuff like since you were young.
Yeah, since I'm, 12, 13 years old, just building little houses and go-karts and, whatever I get my hands on, put screws and nails together and, plywood, all that stuff. So,
That's awesome. So I've heard a little bit about the wooden backpack. Was that
oh yeah.
a pivotal point in your journey?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, just because like making that at the time was like one of the coolest things I ever made. And I was like, I'm gonna wear it to school every day, and it weighs like 25 pounds. It's like 3/4 inch plywood. It doesn't fit anything in it, but it was more of a staple of the time. So yeah, I mean that was kind of how I was like just known as the kid with the wooden backpack, going to school every day. So
That's pretty awesome. And you still
yeah.
have it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You still wear it?
I haven't worn it in, I don't know, like a year, but I should start wearing it again. I should.
Yeah, yeah. Or you could make another one, like some crazy inlays, make some new
Yeah.
version of it with all your new skills that you've had since then.
Definitely lighter though.
Yeah. So another thing I was going to ask you about, I got a couple notes here, is this teeter totter. Now
Oh yeah.
I saw this, I guess on Instagram.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
if anybody hasn't seen his Instagram of this thing, just tell them about it. You can tell the details.
Okay, so we were cutting down trees. There's a eucalyptus grove in the back of my shop, and we were cutting down some like dead trees that were in the way. And I had never really done this, so we were just like, chopping at it and seeing what would happen. Um, and we were trying to drop this tree 180 degrees the wrong way, and it fell right in between these trees that were kind of split, and it was like perfect. I mean, we didn't plan on this happening. It just fell like this, and then it got stuck in there, and it fell on my fence, so I had to like trim it to shorten it up, and then I'm like trimming it up, and it starts going back up in the air, so it was like perfectly balanced. And I'm like, oh man, this is a perfect teeter totter right here. So like two of my buddies came over the next day, and we strapped ropes onto it. So we put one person on one side, and then we had to pull the other person up on the other side. And we just found out that it works, and it sends you like 25 feet in the air. So it's a little intimidating, but it's pretty fun. And when one person gets off, the other person's like stuck up in the air. So it's like a three-person thing to like get people down.
Oh,
So yeah, we got to like devise a way to get people down, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That seems like you should get in touch with Devin Supertramp, the YouTube guy that does all the crazy extreme sports.
Oh
movies.
yeah, I gotta get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Have him
Come
over
on.
for a weekend.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. Got a couple questions showing up here. Go ahead and add questions, guys, and I'm going to try this time, to take them from Twitter, because I know some people have had trouble adding questions through the Q&A app thing. So if you're having trouble with that, you can tweet at me at ILikeToMakeStuff, but stuff only has one F. It's lame, but that's Twitter. So if you want to send a question in that way, I'll try to keep an eye on that as well. So here's one from David. I have a calendar of you. This is from David Picciuto. I have a calendar of you with 12 naked photos, yet I can't see the goods. Are you hiding anything? I think the question here is, why in the world is there a calendar of you naked?
I mean, it's just been a joke over the past 4 years. I've kind of produced this calendar where I'm not really wearing too much. And this year, I got one of my buddies is a professional photographer, and we kind of went at it full force. And I don't know, we make this calendar every year. So we have some plans on the horizon for next year. As we're going on a road trip across country, we're going to get some like epic shots across the country. If anybody's doubting it out there, you just got to look at it with an open mind before I don't know before you judge. So it's pretty funny.
It is really, really funny and tasteful. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it's
Have you
not
seen
bad.
it?
I've seen some of the pictures that you posted
Okay.
from it. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's
Yeah,
really
it's
funny.
it's like PG-13 too. So I mean, you
Yeah.
can't really get mad at it. So
Yeah. Well, that's it's an interesting thing. If you guys have the interest, you might want to check it out.
yeah.
Let's see here. So we got one from Matt Cremona. Do you continually challenge yourself? If so, how? I mean, that's actually something I was curious about too, because looking at your work and looking at like the complexity of the vases that you make
Mhm.
and all that stuff, it seems like it would be really hard at the point that you're at now. It seems like it would be really hard to like find some other stuff you haven't done yet. How do you do that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always. I mean, you're not always going to be challenged with like commissions from other people because it's sometimes it's what they want, and it's not always going to like give you like the creative freedom to do something. So with my own work, I'm always trying to like challenge myself. And the way I did that is by doing. I said I was going to make 100 of these vases, these segmented bowls and vases. Um, so I kind of started. It's more of like a learning thing. I've been just experimenting with different things and failing and trying this and trying that. So, I mean, it is difficult to, come up with new ideas. I think that's the hardest thing is to come up with something new that you haven't done before because it's really easy to get stuck just repeating yourself. Um, so, I mean, yeah, just got to stay challenged. I mean, it is difficult sometimes, but sometimes you get an idea, at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're sleeping, and that's kind of what you work on the next day.
Right. Is that kind of how they like the leopard table that you did recently? Was that just like something you came up with, or was that influenced by something, or?
That one I always like when you fly over like in airplanes and you look down over the desert and it has all like that crackled look to it. And I always like, I just liked the way that looked. And I finally was messing around with some veneer and some, mahogany one day and a little Dremel, and I kind of stumbled on this pattern. And then I was like, I'll make a table. So I did one leg and it took like 12 hours at the time, and I was like, oh, I'll do 4 more legs, and then I was like, oh shoot, I got to do all the rails. So I kind of stumbled into it. um, and yeah, I've done 2 of those tables now, so that's one of or I'm doing 5 of those total. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
All the same? I mean, generally the
Yeah,
same?
yeah, all the same shape, the same size, and the same leopard pattern, and then I'm going to move on to like a different shape, a different style, but with the same leopard print on it.
So how long does it take you to do that particular print?
The first one took like 180 hours or
Oh my
so.
God.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I enjoy it though because I can put on my headphones and shut off my phone and just get into it for 10, 12 hours a day and not really have to worry about anything else. And then the second one took around like 150 hours for me to do. Um, so I usually do that in about like 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks.
Wow. That's crazy. All right, well, let's move on. We got a bunch of questions here now. The profile video, which we were talking about earlier, that we all saw today, mentioned that you were into skateboards. Have you built any skateboards?
Yeah, I've built probably like 30 or 40 skateboards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've done back when I started a long time ago. I don't even count these ones in the 30 or 40, but just like plywood, and I've done the bent lamination. I've done fiberglass ones, epoxy ones. I've built ones out of koa. Yeah, I mean I've shaped ones from solid logs, just for fun. So yeah, I've made a good amount of skateboards.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you sell them, or are they all just like,
I kind of just give them to my friends. I have like probably 8 skateboard decks, and I try and ride one every other day or so. But most of them I just give away.
nice? All right. Here's one from Brander's Workshop. Kyle, I know you must take hundreds of hours sometimes. How do you price your work, keeping that in mind?
Um, I do time and materials for a lot of things, and a lot of times, if like with the first leopard table, I did that, and that one was priced out, and then I didn't really know how much of like an undertaking it was going to be. Um, so on the second one, I kind of figured out how to price it, and I don't know, I think it's just like it kind of experience in the trade. If you've been doing it for a while, you know how long something will take. But then you also kind of have to sell it based on what it looks like. So that's the difficult part for people is some people don't want to pay for something that necessarily looks like a piece of art rather than a functional table. So I'm kind of at this like crossroads where I got to figure that out, how to price that or how to go about pricing that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a big gulf there in between like the people who make things and they sell them for cost plus a little bit, and the people that are actually like making things with the intention of like this is going to be really expensive because I put in my 150 hours or whatever it is. I think a lot of people have trouble with the pricing. I know we have a lot of people on the podcast that we do, me and David and Jimmy, we have a lot of people sending us that question, like how do I price my work a lot? And unfortunately it's like really specific to like who you are, what you do, what you make, where you live. I mean there's there's a ton
And your
of stuff to it.
shop, you have to look into your shop, and I kind of found out my base level of what it costs to run my shop and what it costs for me to show up every day, and then how much I have to make, say every week and every month to be able to do this. So that factors into a lot of things. You might be making, a bunch of cutting boards, but you have to make this much money from it. So I guess it's real specific to the jobs, and some you're going to make, a good amount of money, and some of them you're going to break even. So it's kind of all like a learning experience. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't do that again for that price, which I'm trying to get away from, because those are the ones that you lose money on or whatnot, or time, so.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right, let's move on here. We got one from DIY Craft Addiction. Who do you follow on YouTube, and who's the biggest influence on your video style?
Ooh, my video style and who I follow. Well, I follow you. I like your video style actually.
Thank you.
I like the way, yeah, I like the way, especially that cutting board one that you did. That was pretty cool. I like David Picciuto just because he doesn't speed up anything. He throws it in real time. Let's see, Matt. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I like his videos. And Woodworking for Mere Mortals. I just like that guy. He sounds like he's super fun. Um, and I guess for my videos, I like to call it like the onboard approach, and I like to see things in different perspective. So I want to see like what it looks like if the camera is strapped on to this board and it's running through the planer. I want to see what the inside of that planer looks like, almost like this piece of wood had eyes on it. What is it actually seeing? So that's kind of been my video style. And I'm always finding new people on YouTube, so that's like the cool thing is I'll find so many more people, every other day.
Yeah, that style like changes. I mean, I know for me, I think everybody, the more you watch, the more you do, the more you get ideas, and evolve, your style. I do really like how you put the camera on the wood and like you do some really interesting like spins and that stuff. Keeps it really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there was another one here. How do you make such incredible vases, the glue-up aspect of so many pieces? So I think what they're asking is, like, how do you go about, gluing up that many different segments of all the different... I mean, do you have a bowl, or I see you have a vase behind you.
Yeah, I have a...
Show one of those, like, up close, and maybe give us an idea how you do that?
Let me grab one here.
Sorry, I should have asked that beforehand.
Sorry there. So I'll start with like this little one. Like this is like the 5th one I ever did, right here. So it's just walnut and maple. And I mean, I started out with drawing them all full size with pencil and paper, and then really mapping out like the pattern that I want to go with, and that way I can see all of the pieces. I'll say because this one is around a 1/2 inch and this one's around 1 inch, so I'll draw them that actual size on a piece of paper and just kind of lay it out, and then I'll figure out how many pieces I want in each ring. So this one has 12 pieces. So I cut each piece at 15 degrees, which makes for a 30-degree piece, and then 12 pieces gets you 360 degrees. So it's a lot of planning and a lot of drawing, and I like to do it by hand, just because I can erase and screw up and go back and see it, a lot faster. I'm not too computer savvy, but with these big ones, these ones, holy cow, these ones will take like a day to plan out, all the steps and the segments and whatnot, and about like 40 or 50 hours to glue one of these up, and then a few days to turn it. So yeah, I mean, I just take the time to like draw them all out. I guess that's the only thing I could really say. And then turning them is like the challenge, just because it's hollow all the way through the inside, and it's probably like 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch thick all the way through. So when I start, these things will weigh like 60 pounds, and now it probably weighs like 7 pounds or so. So it's kind of intimidating. I've souped up my lathe and gotten a bunch of steady rests that I've made and different things to make it safer, and helmets and face masks and all that stuff.
Wow, yeah, I cannot even imagine turning something that big.
Yeah, I mean, when you kick the lathe on you, you're like, okay, this is it's time to focus, or the real deal, I guess, because you don't want to screw something like that up. It can like really hurt you, especially when it weighs 50, 60 pounds, spinning at 200 RPMs. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Well, you do some really beautiful turning stuff, so
thank you.
Good job. All right, let's see. Got a bunch more on here. There's all. Somebody was asking. I can't find it now, but somebody was asking where they could find the calendar.
Oh, I'll send them one.
Okay, well, you guys, if you want one, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you'll just have to like send me an email or something like that. So. Cool.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there was that one. How did you come up with the casual, or they said casual, but I think it's non-casual Friday?
Oh, yeah, non-casual Fridays. Yeah, I mean, once I said I moved into a shop, because I worked in my parents' garage for like 2 years after I got out of school. And I was like, if I ever get my own shop, or when I do, I'm going to do a thing called non-casual Fridays. Just because, like, during the week I wear, ratty T-shirts and, torn up jeans so I can get glue on them. And I just wanted to, like, kind of dress to impress one day out of the week and, work in a nice button down and try and not get glue on myself or finish or whatnot. So, I don't know, it was kind of like a goal, is when I got to the place where I had my own shop, I wanted to, do one thing a week where, I dress up. So.
It's pretty awesome. And it seems like you always have people taking pictures of you when you're working. Do you have like photographer friends that just hang out?
No, I set up a GoPro and I just put it on like self-timer all day.
All right.
Yeah, I just kind of let it set up. But a lot of all the studio photos, those come from one of my friends. He's a photographer, so he takes them all.
Nice. You got some really good ones. So.
Yeah.
All right. There's another one here about the turnings. From Drew Mead. Have you ever had something explode on the lathe after hours of glue up?
I've had not a segmented one. I've never had a segmented one come apart. I've had the bases crack, but I've never had like rings actually kind of blow off. And I think the rings crack just because, or the base will crack just because of too much stress. I more often have like solid bowls that'll explode or crack on you. Just because the grain's all running the same way. With these, the grain, it's the end grain glued together, but then on top of that is surface grain on both sides. So, I mean, it's super hard to, break one of these things. And the surfaces, I get them, I try and get them perfectly flat. So there's a lot of glue surface there.
Gotcha. Have you ever gotten like hurt from anything?
When I first started, I dislocated my thumb sanding. But that was just because I didn't know how to, sand. I was using like a 1-inch strip and had both hands on the side of the lathe, and it caught and just pulled my thumb in.
Ooh.
Kind of a bummer, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, here's one from Jackman Carpentry. He's always around. Good to see you again. I'm an engineer and find myself thinking like an engineer too often. Any suggestions on thinking more like an artist?
Holy cow, that's a good question. Um, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one here while we chat a bit, I guess. See if we
Okay.
can come back to him.
Where do you have a particular place or method for getting inspiration, like visual inspiration, like for your turnings, those patterns and stuff? Does that come from somewhere, or is it just kind of like off the top of your
Um,
head, or what?
I mean, I guess it comes from. I mean, I don't know. I follow like just a bunch of different medium forms just online, and at different art shows and exhibitions, and I guess seeing. I don't know. I love repeating patterns a lot, so I guess I would see those in a lot of like I like the geometry based like paintings and artwork. So I guess I'd see that and that stuff, and I'd try and kind of recreate it in wood. Um, but I mean, I guess I kind of pull inspiration from a lot of places. I mean, um, just being outside, being in my shop, being in a place where you feel like you can kind of just create and be free with it, I guess is I think half of the battle. Because if you feel like you're constricted, I feel like I can't, be myself and create. And then the other aspect was getting my shop to a place where I didn't have to like think about things. Like so everything has its place, storage is, the biggest thing for me. So once I got to a place where my shop was where I was comfortable, I feel like that really helped me. I feel like that could probably help a lot of other people too. If they always have something in their the back of their head, like I got to do this, you're kind of not letting your brain be free enough to experience something new.
Yeah, I've heard that too from a couple other people with like large shops, is that one of the reasons they got a large shop was so that everything could stay where it needed to be, like tool wise,
Hmm.
so that you never had to move something. Because I think one of the big like problems with having a small shop is that you often have to move something to get to the thing that you want, which breaks like your flow, it breaks the
Yeah.
time,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that stuff. So yeah, I can imagine that just being able to, and a lot of that just has to do with how you set it up. Maybe that's not size as much, but
Yeah.
being able to get to what you want when you want it probably helps quite a bit for that. Here's one from Sterling. How did you transition from plywood to fine woodworking that you do now? What motivated you to move forward?
Um, I was just getting like Home Depot gift cards and would just buy plywood. And then my parents one day, I mean, I had like plywood furniture in the house and little cabinets and stuff like that. And one day they're like, "Well, this stuff looks halfway decent. Let's buy the kids some nice wood." So they bought me like $300 of oak, and I built a kitchen table, that we still use today. So we've had it for like 9 years, and I mean it's all put together with biscuits. There's no screws on it, so it's all like joinery that I knew at the time. Um, it's pretty sweet. So I guess they, heavily influenced me moving from plywood to, solid wood.
Hmm, that's pretty awesome. Here's one about finishes, which may apply to that table. What's the favorite finish that you use on your projects?
I like this stuff called waterlocks. It's kind of what we used like heavily in school. But I guess my favorite finish is shellac. I love like a French polish on things. That's I guess my favorite one to do, just because it involves more than like wiping it on and letting it dry. You can actually like see it finish right in front of you, just because like the alcohol and the shellac. So yeah, that's my favorite finish.
Hmm, right on. Here's another one from Mike Mursky. Sorry, Mike. About the shop organization. He's going back to that.
Uh-huh.
He says he's not the only one who's OCD about organization. How often do you reorganize and change the layout of your shop?
Well, I haven't changed it since I moved in, but I clean up like everything, and I'll kick on like a leaf blower, and I'll just like leaf blow and turn on all the fans and the dust collection, and just suck everything out of there, blow it out like every Sunday, and kind of start fresh on Monday. And I try and do that like no matter what I'm working on. I try and put everything aside and start fresh. But rearranging, I haven't rearranged my shop since I moved in,
And
so
how long have you been in it?
I've only been in there for like 8 months now.
Okay. So yeah, on the side of your shop, there's one here from Drew. There's a giant Inspector Gadget.
Yeah,
What's the
there's
story with that?
one of my buddies. He's a graphic designer, and or like, what is he? Graphic designer. and he's like a street artist. So they were looking for like a legal place to paint. And one of him and his buddy flew down from San Francisco, and they lined up like 7 or 8 spots to paint. And I was like, "Come on down to the shop." And they took my ugly barn and they painted this sweet Inspector Gadget on the back. And I was like, "Just do whatever you want, have fun." And they started painting, and it was like 105 degrees that day. And I like went out and got them a tarp, and then I kind of got a glimpse of what they're painting. And I was like, "All right, this is gonna be pretty cool."
That's awesome. Are you gonna keep it that, or are you gonna let it like be an evolving street art piece?
Well, he's like, "Hey, when are you ready to paint the back of your shop again?" And I was like, "I mean, if you want to." So it's kind of turned into like whatever his creative, whatever he wants to do with it has kind of become his wall almost.
Nice.
But I do have other walls if anybody else wants to come by and paint something.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll probably get some interest in that.
Yeah.
Here's a good one from the Angling Arborist. What's the ugliest project you've ever made? I can take first, give you a break.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I've made a lot of ugly stuff, honestly. Since I've been doing YouTube stuff, I think one of the benches I did recently it was like pallet wood. The one I did, I had to make 4 of them, and the one I did for the video, I just hated when it was over. I just thought the pattern was ugly, just didn't turn out. The other 3 that I made after that one were great, or maybe before, I don't remember. But I loved them, and they've all sold, and that one is still here. So,
yeah, I think I remember watching that, and you're like, "I just don't like it," for some reason.
Yeah, it just didn't work. What about you?
I think I've definitely made some ugly benches before. Just stuff and I always struggle with proportions for seating. So sometimes it's not that it's ugly, it's that it's ugly in proportion. It just doesn't seem like it fits in an area. Like the seat's too low or too wide. And I made this Chippendale style chair when I was in school, and it just doesn't look right, So it kind of just sits in the corner. Nobody ever sits on it, so
it's important.
Too ugly to sit on. But it was a learning experience, so it was more for the joinery and learning how to build a chair.
Yeah. So is almost everything you do now commission work, or do you have time and motivation to just do stuff for the sake of like learning a new technique or?
Yeah, I mean, I try and like influence the commissions into letting me do something that I haven't really learned before. And lately, a lot of the stuff I've been doing, I haven't even really known how to do it until I actually like started. So yes, and at least like one day a week, I always try and find at least like 4 hours to work on my own personal, project. So I kind of have 1 or 2 projects on the back burner at all times.
That's cool. Probably good to have that to fall back on anytime, free time.
Yeah, sometimes when you like get stressed out or you have a project that's just you're screwing too much stuff up, sometimes you just got to step aside and work on something that that I've designed and that I understand and I kind of know how I want to build it. So
yeah. Here's a good one, and I'm actually interested what you think about CNCs. If you could automate the leopard router work that you did, would you? If you could do it with a CNC, would you?
I don't think I would. I don't know. It's just more fun for me to do. I've had it looked at to try and do with a CNC, and they said they couldn't replicate some of the corners and the edges. They weren't going to be able to make them as sharp, just because they didn't have bits that were small enough. So I definitely wouldn't do it with a CNC. But part of with me making that is I wanted to make the pattern fit so well that if it was made by a CNC, you'd be able to tell. It just wouldn't look the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, what are your thoughts on like using CNC and laser and stuff like that for?
I mean, I like them. I wouldn't want it to ever overtake a project. You kind of use it with, which I think I've heard some other people say, like use it along with your table saw. If they had table saws 150 years ago, 200 years ago, I think they would have been using them. So to completely like throw it out from your tool belt is something I wouldn't want to do. I don't have one. I would like to get one for doing different things. I would never want it to like cut joinery or build an entire piece. but for like lettering and signs and scroll work, I think I could use it for that, and I would.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I found myself just having it available. I found myself having to fight the urge to just be like, well, I could do this entire thing with the CNC.
Mm-hmm.
I could. I don't want to, but it sure would make it easy, you know. So like I have a project coming up soon where I know that I could do the entire thing and not have to cut anything on any other saw, but you know, that's not going to make for an interesting project, and the majority of people that are going to watch it don't have one, so it doesn't do them any good to like see only that in action.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Somebody asked me recently about the 3D printer that I got, like, oh great, now your channel is just going to be you printing things out. I was like, no, it is absolutely not, because that would make really lame videos, and it's just, it's just not what I'm going to do with it. It's just a tool. So
yeah.
Let's see. What do you use to edit your videos? There's another one on here.
Oh, so I don't even have a computer. I had to borrow this computer to do this. I actually use an iPod. I use a GoPro and an iPod, and I send all the footage from the GoPro to the iPod, which takes like 8 hours to transfer like 30 gigs of data for one video, and then I edit all my stuff on a little iPod.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it crashes a lot.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So I was actually finishing up one today, a video. So I could do them pretty quick. I edited a video in like 4 hours. I've kind of learned how to do it, so I just have to edit in like 30-second segments, and then put them all together at the end.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting. So for people that are worried about not having the right stuff, there you go. Because
yeah,
Kyle doesn't have the right stuff, but he does good videos.
Yeah, soon. Hopefully, I hope to get a computer so I can, I want to be able to make like music go with what I'm doing. Edit to music. For like beats and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Here's a good one. Other than selling stuff on your website, how do you market and sell the stuff that you make? And do you reach out to local businesses for commission work? And I was going to ask as well, like, how do you get the commission work that you get usually?
I'm like in touch with a few interior designers, and they'll send me stuff every once in a while. I've given a lot of stuff away, or just letting it being seen like in a business that gets traffic flow has gotten me commissions. A lot of it's just word of mouth. I've sold stuff through YouTube just from posting a video, and through Instagram, which is like kind of foreign to me, but I'll take it just because you can reach a broader audience. But I mean, yeah, I guess it's just been a lot of it's word of mouth, and lately just from being on YouTube.
Right on. Yeah, for me, the question was for both of us, but for me, I don't really sell stuff anymore. Like I have in the past, but it's not, if I sell anything, it's from my website. So
yeah.
Oh, here's one. Do you take any classes? Now, I know you said before that you were at the North Bennett School?
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tell us about that. And do you take any type of classes now?
Well, yeah, I went to Palomar College for a year, and they had a woodworking program. This was at like first year after high school, and it just like wasn't enough. It wasn't enough information. I'd go to class, 2-3 days a week, and then leave, and then I'd be done with the project in a few weeks, and then not really learning anything. So I applied to North Bennett Street School in Boston for their 2-year cabinet and furniture making program. And that was like a whirlwind of difference, just being there every day, from like 8 to 4:30. You're in small classes with only, 10 to 12 students. So like a lot of like hands-on work. So that was my schooling, was out there in Boston. And then I've taught different wood turning classes. And I try and take like one class a year at the local community college. So I took like guitar making last year. So and since then I made like one acoustic guitar and 3 electric guitars. So.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Is that something you're going to do more of, do you think?
I want to, but it's like if you're going to do guitars, you almost have to have like a shop just for guitars, and like a lot of tools and a lot of jigs for it. So if I were to do another one, I would probably just take the class again, just because they have all the tools and the jigs and the fixtures there.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but that actually makes a lot of sense. I found a really, I'll try to put a link to it in the description if I can find a link to it again. There's a really beautiful video that somebody sent me about this guy that makes flamenco guitars. And it's just like, it shows the entire, artistically shows the whole process and how much time each one of these little pieces of the guitar takes to make. Just a ridiculous amount of time to make something like that.
Is it the one where he's playing in the background, like, and it's kind of looped through, and he's playing the guitar, and it's like hour 25?
Yeah.
I've seen that. That one's that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a link for it. Okay, for both of us, what is your favorite part of the project?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think getting started on it. I have a hard time staying motivated sometimes to finish things, and I have a hard time getting motivated to start the planning process for things. But that, like, the point of, okay, the plan is done, I have everything I need to just get rolling on it, I really like that.
Yeah, I think me likewise. I like, once I have everything, I won't start unless I have everything. Even if I'm building a cabinet and I know it's going to need hinges, like, I won't start. I'll always be like fooling around, like fixing something or, cleaning, just ridiculous, for no reason, until I have everything. So once I have everything, I mean, it's kind of game on for me. I mean, I love every part of it. I could be cutting joinery to finishing. I even like sanding for some reason. So.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Toth, there's nothing you can't attach a camera to. What is your
what was the question?
What is your technique for attaching?
Oh, I went and I bought like 50 of those GoPro mounts, and so every time I need a new one, like, I just have them at my disposal. And then so it's on everything. It's on jigsaws. It's inside of the planer. It's outside the planer. It's on all my ceiling fan. It's on my door. I mean, it's I wear a chest mount for a lot of stuff, a head mount, a wrist mount. I strap it to my back. I put it on everything. But for most of the stuff, I have to use the 3M double-sided tape to be able to put it on, like, flat surfaces. So, and that stuff's like expensive. So.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say it might be cheaper to just buy a whole bunch of GoPros and mount them on all those mounts.
Yeah, I know, seriously.
That would be expensive.
I don't think I'd be able to keep up with all that editing though on an iPod.
Yeah, probably not. You may have to expand your editing suite a little bit.
Yeah.
So here's one about, like, what's the greatest challenge that you've given yourself?
I mean, a lot of the, like, in woodworking, or like with what?
No. Let's say, I think he was talking about woodworking, but let's say no. What's the greatest challenge outside of woodworking?
Well, I mean, getting through my school was, a challenge, being there every day. But I guess, I mean, I don't know. I guess I have, like, a lot of goals and where I like to see myself in, like, a few years doing something. So I guess the big challenge is, like, trying to, hold myself back and not, like, going for all of one thing all at once and forgetting about the other things that I want to, work on. And I guess slowing down and, like, taking things as a progression, I guess, has kind of been a challenge for me.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess you're doing all this yourself. It's all you, so it would be easy for you to just, like, super focus on one thing and then, like, neglect the other stuff. I think that would be the case for anybody running a business, that they can easily just neglect anything that's not, like, maybe fully making them money or fully getting them to where they want to be or any of that stuff. So what's your experience so far with, like, doing all this stuff yourself and being in charge of where you're taking, your business? Like, how's that been?
I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's once you kind of start doing it, things just become more natural, I think, and it becomes easier to do things. So I guess it's kind of just like setting yourself up for, like, a little bit of success. and I don't know, just staying motivated is like a big thing that I try and do. So I always feel like I have to be producing something, um, whether it's like fixing something or making something or doing something for the business or for the shop or like taxes or just anything like that. So I think that's kind of just like my mindset has kind of kept me in track with what I'm doing.
Hmm. So what are your, if you want to say, you don't have to, but what are your kind of plans for maybe the next 5, 10 years for your business? Like where are you taking all this?
Well, I mean, I have plans for like all my vases and bowls and where I want those to go. So once I get to 100, I'm stopping there. And I have plans for another series of vases, and I'd like to get those into galleries. Um, I'd like to be able to have like shows in like my own gallery at some point. There's a lot of things. I want to set up a production facility to make like a series of like household products and kind of let that run itself if that's possible. So I guess there's a lot of things that I want to do, and that's just woodworking.
Awesome. That sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stuff on your plate there preparing.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one from Sterling. Do you plan to do any videos on the jigs that you use? For example, the salad bowl router jig that you used.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just never thought about it. Sometimes like making the sorry, making the jigs can be its own like video. Sometimes I just forget like the amount of work that goes into something like that, and like people not necessarily knowing how to make that. So yeah, I mean, I guess I should just start filming that stuff. I kind of just shut the camera off and we'll not even worry about that. So
Yeah, I can imagine that people would probably love to see. I mean, a lot of the detail stuff like that, how you actually get going on your projects is probably maybe a little proprietary, or it's like, what makes your work your work. But if any of that was shareable, I think people would love to see, like you were talking about drawing out the patterns for your segmented stuff and
yeah,
the jigs, and I mean, people would, I think, love to see just how you do it. Maybe not like every detail and not
yeah.
necessarily know how to do it themselves, but to see your process would be.
Yeah, I'd have to figure out a way to make it interesting because sometimes it could just be really boring, if I'm sitting there for, 4 hours just drawing something. So
Yeah. You can upload like 10-hour videos on YouTube, I think. So you got
yeah.
yeah. Let's see. I know that some YouTubers make enough money to quit their jobs. Do you see woodworking giving you the same opportunity in the future? Would you like the chance to do it full time? Well, he does do it full time. I don't know if that was for me or not. But I guess the bigger question around that would be, since you started doing YouTube stuff, started making videos, how has that changed your business, and how has that changed what you're trying to accomplish, and where you're putting your time, and what's the effect?
I mean, it's like filming was always the second thought for me. Like I was more focused on the piece and making, the actual product and getting it to the person or, for my own self. So filming has always been like okay, if I have time to do it. But lately, just with the YouTube stuff and more people seeing it, which is super awesome. Now I just, force myself to film everything. So I kind of forgot the rest of the question there.
Oh, it's just like, how has that changed? I mean, that changes how you work because, now you're more conscious of having the camera set up and all that stuff. But like, how has just being a part of the community or being more present in YouTube, how's that changed like the direction of your business, or how you're doing things, or is it?
I mean, I don't think it really has. It's kind of been, I've always been doing this. It's just another way for me to get it out there so that people can see it. I mean, it's definitely, it's awesome when people have like this positive feedback. Like that's, super cool when before I used to deliver a piece to one person and, a handful of people would see it, maybe 100 people would see it a year. And the fact that I can upload a video and have, thousands of people see it is, even way cooler, just because it's almost like they get to see the process of what went into that rather than, just the one person owning it, and kind of like hoarding it, for the rest in their home, and just, yeah, so I mean, that's kind of changed, I guess, my way. I mean, I guess I just started filming everything. You know, I was driving cross country, and I called David Bachuto, and I was like, hey, do you care if I stop by? And he's like, sure, come on by. And he's kind of, you know, him just sharing videos has kind of got me more, you know, of a following, got me more into it, and that's kind of been, you know, like, this is new and exciting. So I think being that it's new and exciting has, you know, kind of kept me, or, you know, allowed me to, like, you know, do it and get more creative with the filming and editing.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can imagine that. Well, I could see two sides of it. Like, if you're really focused on, you just want to make the thing, you know, make the project, I could see being a part of the YouTube community being like a distraction. But at the same time, I've never talked to anybody, I'm sure there may be somebody, but I've never talked to anybody who's like started becoming a part of the YouTube community and then been like, oh man, I just don't want to do this anymore because I just want to go back to like just doing whatever it was I was doing without a camera. I think people love the way that it affects like how they think about what they're doing. And
yeah, I mean, I definitely keep up and check on like a lot of, you know, different people, or just check my news feed and see what other people are making. I'm definitely not like, you know, I'm not going to leave, you know, the YouTube community. I love it. You know, everybody's like so nice and friendly, and it's just abundance of information. You know, and I learn stuff from other people all the time. You know, if it could be, you know, simple things as like installing hinges, or like, you know, how they edited a video, or, you know, I really like, you know, getting more into like lights and, you know, installing that on pieces. So there's just so much information out there.
yeah, yeah, it's been pretty awesome for me in a lot of different ways to just have access to so much stuff. And I think people maybe don't realize like what is really available through YouTube. It's like,
yeah, I think that's been the hard part, is finding all that stuff. You know, because there's so much out there that, you know, you might not want to sit through. So I guess finding it all has been the big issue, and sometimes I feel like I'm wasting time by finding it, or, you know, by sitting there, you know, and then I get stuck on other videos or whatnot.
yeah, it can be a rabbit hole pretty easily.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. What do you do when you're not woodworking?
Make calendars. No.
make teeter totters in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time at my shop, but I like sailing. So my family, we have a boat and we go sailing every once in a while. I like sitting, just sitting in general. Like, I just, you know, spend a lot of time up, you know, moving around the shop, and like just being able to like sit, you know, on the beach, or just being able to sit and have lunch is like a super nice thing for me to do.
Huh.
You know, and also like I like skating too, so I have a couple longboards, and I like, you know, bombing down hills and whatnot.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Let's see here. I had another one and I lost it as usual. Well, where'd it go? Oh, speaking of David Bachuto, is Chuck a real person?
What do you mean, this Chuck real? Of course Chuck's real.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been in a video. I'm not sure why people are still asking that.
I mean, my name's tattooed on his butt, so he is pretty real to me.
He's a real part of your life from now on.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. I saw one. Oh gosh, sorry guys. Okay, so your bio from Vigil Films was sick. How was it to be the subject rather than, you know, being the one doing the shooting of the video?
I mean, it was pretty cool. I was kind of like taken back that they wanted to do like a video on me. It was really awesome. It was like I was like the star of my own show. So, but it was really cool. They said, you know, just do what you're normally gonna do today. So, you know, me making that table and doing that inlay was, you know, what I was doing that day. So it was really natural. It wasn't like anything was forced. You know, I'd tell them, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then they would set up their cameras and, you know, film it. But yeah, that video, I mean, it was so cool, you know, being able to watch that and see those guys work.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to have that, and it should be a good. Hopefully, it'll be a good like promotional tool for you, because, man, yeah, it was so well done. Here's another one. Is there one special artist or maker out there that you'd love to collaborate with on a project? That's good. I'll take that one first and give you a little talking break.
Okay.
There is. I don't think there's one special one, but there are tons of people. The further I get into YouTube and just like people who create content, the more you find, the more people that you're exposed to that have different skill sets and all this stuff. And so that list of people that I would love to work on something with just gets bigger all the time. And I don't know how I'll ever be able to actually collaborate with them at a distance, but I'm actually kind of working on something to maybe make that happen. But I think that list was just going to continue to grow, but it's going to be harder and harder, to do like distance collaborations for people. So I guess that's not really answering your question, Mark, but there are a lot of them. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I never even thought about it. I mean, I never, thought about reaching out to somebody on YouTube and asking if they wanted to, do a project together. I know there's like friends that I have that I want to, team up and do projects with, but as for YouTube, I guess I've never really thought about it. So I'd have to, watch the videos that I've, watched and, just kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I think there have been some collaborations done, between people that make stuff and then turn it into videos. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult thing to do. I mean, I've talked to a few people about it, and like the logistics of two people working in different shops on the same thing, it's just tough. It's not impossible, but I think that's the big block from a lot of people trying to make it happen. It's just
maybe I'll let somebody else do it first and see how they do it.
There you go. Yeah. And then hopefully they'll do a video on how they did a collaboration.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing that you've made since doing YouTube videos?
Just since like I started launching the videos?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I guess the leopard table, that was the coolest one for me to make and edit. That was a super fun video. I got really into. I kind of had like 160 hours like alone at my shop where I wasn't like worried about the next job or next commission or having to meet up with this person to get some more work going. So I guess that was the most my most favorite thing that I've done since I've been doing the videos. And there was a desk that I did a long time ago, and it's on YouTube, but it's just it was like filmed like 2.5 years ago, and that one was super fun to build.
Are either one of those like your favorite pieces that you've ever made, or?
Yeah, the desk is actually my favorite piece. It's made in Macassar ebony and holly, so you get like these two very dramatic woods, and it's got really nice curves on it, bent lamination, and then the whole thing is kicked forward, so the drawers taper at like 3.5 degrees, and then they're dovetailed and they tilt to the side, so it's like a compound dovetailed cut. And those were just like fun to lay out and fun to cut.
Wow, that sounds pretty crazy. I'll have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one. Yeah. Here's a really general one, but a good one. What motivates you?
You go first, Bob.
All right.
We'll throw you under.
Yeah, well, I'm motivated by, I have a lot of motivation. I have 4 young kids, and they're a whole lot of it for a lot of different reasons. One, I want to be able to leave kind of a legacy for them so that, they can see when I'm gone or when I'm old and I'm not doing this stuff anymore, they can go back and look at this YouTube channel or this, these pieces or whatever it is, and they can be like, wow, my dad did some stuff, he had a thing that he did. So there's that, there's also, I'm really motivated to pass things on to them, pass curiosity and a knack for like taking stuff apart, fixing things and all that. That's stuff that I want to pass on to them. And there's a whole bunch more, but I think I've been blessed with a whole lot of gifts and a whole lot of opportunity, and that's something I'm motivated to make the most of that for myself, for my kids, for other people. Yeah, that's me. What about you?
Yeah. I'm motivated by a lot of like the people in my life, just like friends and family and parents, and just them like being able to provide what they have for me, like that motivates me, like let's do something with that. Like my shop motivates me a lot. Like I have this beautiful shop that I've built, and just having that like there is kind of like anything is possible when I'm there, so like might as well get rolling with it. And I don't know, I guess I'm just motivated by like a lot of the people around me in my life. So.
Awesome. I saw one that Oh yeah, here it is. Have you ever had a project that was a little more than you could handle from a deadline or skill level, and did you get through it?
Um,
Go ahead.
um, I had this. It was the Modolo dining table, like a 54-inch round table, and for some reason I just couldn't get the finish right on the top. There was something like in the wood that was just like it was just rejecting the stain and the finish in it. So I just had to call the guy and be like, hey, it's not, I need some more time on this. And he's like, oh, sure. But I was like stressing out. I'm like, I got to get it there by this day because that's when I told him I was going to get it there. So I guess that was, recently one of the more stressful ones. Or
Yeah, I don't think I've had any that I've gotten stressed out about some projects. Like I did some furniture for this, like it was a small home, like one of the tiny homes built on a trailer. So it was 140 square feet, I think, and like everything was in this trailer, everything.
Yeah.
And so I had to build a bed that had storage underneath it, and then like a headboard storage unit thing, and like some doors, and it was all out of teak, and it was like everything had to fit. So I think everything was really, really specific. Like I had to measure things really precisely. And do what?
Made out of teak too. Wow.
Yeah, and that was great. So that was fun to work with.
Expensive mistake too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I spent all this time, like trying, and it was a kind of tight deadline. So I spent all this time doing this work, and I was just like really stressed about, I'm going to put all this in, and then I'm going to take it there and try to install it, and something's going to be like a half an inch too big, or whatever. And it turned out fine, and I got everything done, and they were super happy with it. But then the bed was here, and then this like other piece of furniture that had storage in it was the headboard, so it was right next to it, and they measured both of these things to fit right in this thing, wrapped in glass. The outside of it was wrapped in windows. It's going to fit right in there. And whoever had done the original measurements didn't account for the wheel wells of the trailer, which were like right there.
Yeah.
And so basically, I put all this work in, and then this headboard piece, they had to just get rid of it so that the bed would fit in between the wheel wells. So, yeah, that was a little frustrating, when I got it all done, and like I'd been stressing about it, and I got it perfect, and then they just didn't use it. But it is what it is. I got paid for it either way. So. Well, we got about 2 minutes, and I don't want to keep Kyle, and I really appreciate all the questions that everybody's been sending. There's still a bunch here. Won't be able to get to them all, but let me see if I can find one or two more. Try to get in real quick. Kyle, should all woodworkers have beards and make calendars?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so.
I think you're probably right on that one. Let's see, Kyle, were you able to schedule a time to meet Jimmy DiResta next month?
Oh yeah, I haven't talked to him. I'm going to New York next month, so I wanted to meet him. So
yeah, you definitely should.
Yeah,
you might be watching. Yeah, get in touch with him. Let's see here. Find one or two more. Oh, do you guys have any ideas or recommendations on how to reach other new woodworkers in my area? Somebody else asked me this one time, and I would be interested to know if you have like a certain thing out in your neck of the woods, but over here on the East Coast, we don't have I don't have any woodworking shops. I don't have a woodcraft near me, but from what I've heard in some of the bigger cities, going to places like that are really good. Like a lot of people will have classes, at Woodcraft or at that type of store, and just going and doing those classes every once in a while will often let you find woodworking clubs. The people are in both of those places, and that's kind of a good way to get hooked up with other woodworkers. What about you? Do you have any ideas there?
Yeah, I mean, I would just look for I have San Diego Fine Woodworkers and then Inland Wood Turners. So there's got to be some clubs within probably 100 miles of you or so. And then see if there's any colleges in the area because they probably have a woodworking program. Even community colleges too.
Awesome. Will you ever come to the East Coast, and if so, will you bring me a calendar?
Tell them I'll just mail them one.
Okay, I'll mail you one. This is the same person that asked for one earlier, so
okay.
Yeah. They really want a calendar. All right, well, it's 10:30. I don't want to keep Kyle, but Kyle, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you everybody for asking questions and for watching and being awesome. Oh, Jimmy just said he will be there. Yeah, so
nice.
Yeah, so get in touch with Jimmy. Yeah, thank you everybody for asking questions and for watching. And I want to go tell you about the next episode. The next one's going to be a month from tonight, a little bit more than 3 weeks like normal. But it's going to be, the guest is going to be Matthias Wandel. So that should be really awesome to hear from him. And I'll be posting all that stuff, so you'll see it. But thank you, Kyle, for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Thanks for doing this, and thanks everybody for all the questions and everything. It's really cool.
Awesome.
I like it. Yeah.
Good. Well, all right. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.